Hey guys, welcome back. I'm David. We're here in my shop and this is E-War Guitars. This series of videos I'm doing is based on the construction of this guitar I've got working right here. And this particular video, and probably the next couple, and I think the last one, is all about the construction of this multi-laminate neck. So as you can see, I've just got it glued onto the body, and so I'm basically finished with the construction of the guitar, and I'm going to move on with doing the finish sanding and getting it ready for finish. But if you stick around for this video, you'll see this one's about routing in the truss rod, getting it all set, drilling through the end for my key. And also, this is my first attempt. I don't know if you can see that very well in the camera. You can see that little lightning bolt inlay right there. That is my first time ever trying that. And it didn't come out too bad. Of course, I've still got to sand it and dress it out and everything, but I gave it a shot and it worked out all right. So if you ever thought about trying inlay, you ought to watch this video, because if I can do it, you can do it for sure. Alright, so I'm getting ready to route in my truss rod. This is a hot rod dual action or dual way truss rod I get from Stu Mac. It's real nice. It's a 1/4 inch wide and it's 3/8 of an inch deep, although it gets a little bit deeper on the ends here, which I'll have to chisel out when I get to it. But at any rate, it's an 18 inch also. So I wanted to talk about the placement and the jig I used to route in the truss rod. Now this jig I made, I do several different neck operations on this jig. It's pretty cool. I could lay my blank in here for the neck, and I could adjust these nuts here on the side, and I could center it up perfectly. And then I have these two aluminum L angles that I've screwed on here that are just the right width for my router to drop it. So I can put it in there, I can mark my ends, and I can see real clearly, run it to the end, run it both ways. It works really nice. And the other thing I could do with this too is when I cut in my truss rod, I stop it short of where the angle drops. And then I'm gonna cut a 3/8 inch oval shaped hole right up in here as my access hole to get my Allen key in to get to the end of the truss rod. So I could also change out the bit, put a 3/8 round over bit in it, or sorry, 3/8 bullnose bit, and I could lay it down and it'll follow the angle in here and still stay between the two sides of the two fences of this jig. So anyway, it works pretty good. So as far as the placement of my truss rod, now I'm going to stop the end of the truss rod just here short of the nut, okay? So I lay my truss rod up here, right? I get my pencil, and I come down here and I mark the other end, which incidentally happens to hit at the 22nd fret. And then I could just, I've already got my router set to a 3/8 depth, which will be the proper depth through this truss rod. And I'll just drop it in there and start routing. Alright, so I've got my 1/4 inch router bit in there, and I've got the depth stop set at 3/8 of an inch, which is what I need for this particular truss rod. And I'll take several passes, probably 4 or 5 passes to get the depth. And then of course I got to go back and I'll have to chisel the ends square to make sure, because the end of the truss rod's square. And up here at the other end, it steps 2 different times, so it's got to become wider. One of them I'll use my 3/8 router bit for that, to set that depth or the width for that. And then I'll do a little chiseling too, just to make it fit in there good. When it's all said and done, the truss rod needs to fit really tight, be perfectly flush with the top, and have no play in it at all. Now the next thing I want to do is I've got to route an access hole for my key to go in the end of the truss rod. And this is going to get a head plate on it later, which I've got cut out here. And this is how I figured out to do it. I've never done this before, so let's see if it's going to work. So I don't want to put the head plate on there yet, but I do want to get it routed exactly like the neck is going to be routed. So what I've done, I've got my little holes I've already drilled in here for the layout of my tuners, which I always do at a 1/16 of an inch. And I've taken two 1/16 inch drill bits, and we're going to use them as indexing pins. So if I can manage to slide this on here, like so, put that one on like that. Now that's going to hold that nice and tight, exactly where it's going to go. And I'll just take my ball and I'll tap these pins down flush. Like so, and that should hold it really nice. And I'll use those same indexing pins when I go to glue the head plate on. So anyway, I've got my router bit. I got the same 3/8 fluting bit in there, and I've got my marks. I'm going to route from there to there. I better check that to be sure. Say my 1/2 inch from those tuner holes, 1.5 inches long. Yep. Okay, so I did all that fitting and everything on the headstock plate. I wanted to make sure it fit right, and I wanted to get this oval shaped access hole cut in it, because the next thing I want to do, and I want to do it before I get this glued on, because I don't want to ruin a whole neck, is I'm going to, for the first time, attempt at fitting in a little inlay piece. This is a lightning bolt with mother of pearl on the outside and abalone on the inside, and I'm going to put it up here, something like that. And so I wanted to have the defined headstock where it's going to go. I wanted to have this oval hole cut, so I knew exactly where to put that. And I also wanted to drill my tuner holes so I could avoid cutting this thing where it's going to be under a tuner. So anyway, this is totally uncharted territory for me, so I thought I would do all this to set myself up so I could then route that in, which I'm going to do next. Actually, probably before that, I'm going to probably cut this to length and get the proper angle on the end of this little headstock piece. And then I'm going to do that. So let's see how it goes. Okay, so I'm just checking the fit of this thing. Went ahead and cut it off on the bandsaw, and then I gave it a slight bevel on the on my belt sander over there. And so now I want to fit it. This is my fingerboard template. So I'm lining that up, and I know the finger joint template is square. So now I'm lining up, and I can see I need to take a little bit off of this side over here. So that's what I'm going to work on. I'm working on fitting this joint.
Here's a little block of wood with a piece of 220 grit sandpaper glued to it for this type of thing. I've got several of those I use with different grits of paper on them, and I really find that that's absolutely the best way to make your final fit with anything. Just take a tiny little bit off at a time, and you keep working at it, it'll come out really good.
Well, I've watched a bunch of YouTube videos on guys doing inlay, and it just blows my mind how beautiful they do with such intricate detail and all that stuff. And I don't know, I'm not sure I've got the patience, but I did get this little lightning bolt because it was a fairly simple design, and I think it looks kind of cool. I mean, lightning, electric guitars, I kind of thought it went together. So anyway, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick my little lightning bolt on that piece of double-sided sticky tape. I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and this little piece of wood here, and I'm going to try to cut out the excess. I'm going to try to cut off the excess double-sided sticky tape, so I've just got a little piece on the back. I'm not even sure I got the patience for this, but hell. That's never stopped me before. If there's one thing I learned from guitar building, you've got to be patient. That's probably the most valuable lesson I learned in my journey of building guitars. Well, I haven't totally learned patience yet, but I've gotten better.
Well, so here I am. I've cut a little piece of double-sided sticky tape on the back, and I've stuck it into the headstock plate where I want it to go, and I'm just knifing out the edges to get a good clear thin line right tight around it. Now I'm darkening the line a little bit with my pencil. I'm going to stick it down to that piece of granite. I've got a 1/16 upcut router bit in that Dremel, and I'm just very carefully going along it. And once I've got it routed to the proper depth, I'm taking an X-Acto knife and cleaning up the little points that a 16th can't get into, and then I'm fitting it in.
Nice. Well, that's taken a little while, but I got it. Looks pretty good. A little gapped on the sides a little bit. Now that side's perfect. That side's perfect. A little gap over here. But I'm going to mix up some epoxy and put in some of this zebra wood sanding dust in it and see how it goes.
So I'm mixing up a little bit of epoxy. Got my gloves on. I have some sticky shit. Dumped in a little bit of zebra wood dust. Put it in there, floated it down in, kind of flushed it out nice and scraped away the excess. Gonna clamp it on there with a little piece of wax paper to keep it from floating up or anything. As you can see, I kind of jumped ahead here in the video. I got the rough cut on the neck and the head plate. I'm gonna go ahead and glue that on. You see my little indexing pins there. Of course, I'll pull them out through the back after it's all said and done. There we go, we're all glued up, ready for the next step.
Well guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I want to say thanks to the subscribers and the folks that like my videos. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the comments too. I'm glad y'all sticking with me as I'm kind of learning this journey of making YouTube videos and trying to figure out how to get decent content on guitar building into a short video. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a challenge too. Anyway, I appreciate you watching, and if it's your first time and you dig this sort of thing, how about you give me a like and subscribe? And I'll see you all in the next one. I'll have another video coming out on Thursday.